Big day, Will.
Big day.
I appreciate you coming on, brother. I really do.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. No problem, dude. So I was kind of introduced to you through a couple mutual friends. It would be through Chris and through Pat. And then slowly kind of just being told what you do, what you represent, and then meeting you over like FaceTime and then meeting you just now in person. I'm super excited to have you on the show, super excited to talk to you and learn about you and learn from you. And I'm stoked, man. I'm really grateful. That's all it is.
Yeah,
so,
no, thanks for having me on. As soon as you reached out, I was extremely excited to come discuss anything with you, whether it be any topic. And our mutual friends, I mean, come on, Chris and Pat.
Yeah, he doesn't get much better than that, for sure. For sure, and I'm sure they'll say the same about you and them as well. So, man, that's epic. But so, getting started, kind of take us through, we'll start your journey, if you will. Tell us a bit about yourself, starting kind of from like your life leaving high school to kind of how we got to now, and then we'll go through it from there.
Right, so leaving high school, I was a little bit, I would say, kind of confused about where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So my dad owns a contracting company. So I actually first went to college for construction engineering, did it for a year, didn't like it, did business for a year. Did that and realized that really wasn't a passion of mine.
No.
Back in high school, I actually did the musical Grease, and I was Danny Zuko.
No way.
And it was out of nowhere, like out of nowhere.
Amazing.
Like, I hadn't really done anything like that before, but I loved drama class. I loved to entertain people,
right,
and that experience kind of drove me to this thought of entertainment. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big music guy as well.
Yeah.
So after those degrees, I decided to head to Vancouver out west and do audio engineering music production.
Nice.
I love making music. I love creating music. I think that there's something really special about it. Mm-hmm. Then I came back from there and started on a whim really at CTV Ottawa. Yeah. My friend was the supervisor there and asked for me to be a part-time promotions person. So I was the guy at the side of the street, listen to win, you know. Like,
Amazing.
So I started from there and worked my way up to a full-time position.
Nice.
Ended up becoming really close with the VP there and worked right under him. And then realizing where I was, there's 4 radio stations, 2 TV stations, a morning show, and CTV News. Realized I wanted to be on the other side, and that's always kind of been there for me. And the news directors in Ottawa approached me about being on air. And then I talked to the VP and came here to Northern Ontario to be the weather anchor. So that's kind of where it all began. Yeah, it's quite the journey, but I absolutely love it.
Nice. Dude, that's awesome. So before we get a bit more into that and like kind of why you got there from where you started, but lyrics or the audio music instrumental part of the song, which do you prefer?
Ooh, I would probably say the audio, just because I love creating melodies. Okay. So I love, like, I would write songs that I wouldn't be able to finish a song because I would just write in a melody. There's something fascinating about it. I still love lyrics and what they mean to many songs, but the, let's say, orchestral part, those type of melodies, they're my favorite.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had to ask when you said it. So I'm like, you're a big piano guy?
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, okay. Nice. That's cool. That's really fascinating, dude. So what was, like, why Vancouver, of all the places? Because where you started? You started Ottawa?
Ottawa, yeah. Yeah, so you know what? I had never really gone outside of Ottawa. I had gone to visit friends at college and here and there and done that stuff, but experiencing anything outside of Ottawa I hadn't really done, and I heard how beautiful it was out west. And the program that I was doing, it was the top program for that specific area in the country. You know, it was, you go in there, you're in the studio every day, you learn about Pro Tools at Ableton, and it was a very special group of people and instructors that really were able to teach you things. So that was kind of the whole reason I wanted to go do that, because I was like, if I'm going to do this, this is the spot. And I'm really happy I did. I didn't experience Vancouver as much as I had hoped, because I was in the studio so much, so I didn't get out there, but that's kind of what led me to Vancouver.
Nice. Yeah. So you didn't get to... Where you went to... What school did you go to for the engineering?
So that was Algonquin College.
You went to Algonquin as well.
Yeah, nice. Which was 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah,
so really... I lived in Nepean, so which is just like right around the corner. I actually stayed in Res too, which is hilarious.
Amazing! You got to. You got to
get the experience, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
Amazing. Because do you know where Woodfield Drive is?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I live there.
Oh,
3 years.
No way.
I went to school in Ottawa, yeah.
You know what? I feel like every time you have a conversation with someone, especially around here, it's like there's always a connection somewhere like that,
especially
right?
to Ottawa.
Yeah, especially to
I found
Ottawa,
that, that when I found it with like Pat as well and a few other people, I'm like, oh, no way. You know where this street is? And they're like, dude, my mom lives there. I'm like, I did too.
It's unbelievable.
Different house, but, you know.
But you were there,
Yeah, but I was there, and I started walking a dog, and you're like, I don't have a dog. I'm like, well, all right.
Okay.
But, dude, yeah, that's incredible. So, how'd you, so you got here through, like, it started out, and then a friend brought you here, or a friend recommended you in Ottawa, right?
He was the VP of Bell Media in Ottawa.
Yeah, and then you like kind of applied to come to Sudbury.
Yeah, so it was basically like I was doing promotional work at CTV Ottawa, starting to do the on-air things. Then this full-time position came available, so I drove down here, interviewed, and kind of got a lay of the land before picking up and moving over here. And then was offered the job. That day, took some time to think about it, and then came, which was a big decision for me because all my friends and family are in Ottawa.
Yeah.
So to pick up and leave all that behind, and you know, to be honest with you, even like when I was coming here, I didn't realize how like Sudbury's in this triangle between like Toronto and Ottawa. It's not like close to either.
No, not at all.
So it's further away, but it was probably the best decision I ever made.
So. Tell me about that interview process. Like, what's that interview process like? You probably don't just sit down and answer 5 questions about yourself and then leave.
No, definitely not. So going into it, you have to have a demo. So a demo of whether it's news stories, promotional work. You have to be able to show what you can do behind the camera in a role like mine. So you need to have that as well as your resume laid out. So that's why it's so difficult for people in our industry to get there, because you need that resume to continue to climb.
It takes time to build that up.
So I didn't have too much, so I actually created my own life story video from when I was a kid. I went to my high school, I went to my middle school, I went to everywhere. I went to the Sens Arena and basically did a time lapse of my life in an interview style.
Whoa, dude!
So
that's a really good idea.
You know what?
That's not bad.
I didn't have anything, right? I did some promotional work, but that was it, and they loved it. And then the questions are more for my role specifically, because I'm weather and entertainment. It's not like the news side. They wanted to have a different type of role, so I came into here thinking like I want to be traveling the road. I want to do more than just weather. I want to have some fun things going on. So we were on the exact same page.
Nice.
And it's basically, from a news director standpoint, if they can see you and how comfortable you are and have those same visions, then you're going to be okay. So
that's awesome.
It was a very different interview process than before, when it's like, oh, what'd you do? How'd you graduate? What's your 5-year plan? Like, it's really not like that.
Right.
So it was unique.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you had any, like, I guess, better question, what's the greatest experience you've had so far in Sudbury through your work?
Ooh, good question. You know what? I would probably narrow it down to 2. One would be when I went live at the international plowing matches in Verner. There was over 100,000 people roll through there. And that was the biggest thing I'd been to. And the amount of people that would come up and say hello or, know who I was, it was a glimpse of, wow, like, I'm just behind a camera every day, but I can see the impact that has within the community.
Right.
Not to mention helicopter rides and all the fun stuff
that's
you
sweet.
get to do there.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And then through work would be my paddle with purpose that I did as well, just because of the community support there. So it's amazing to see Sudbury, Greater Sudbury, and Northern Ontario as a whole, how close it is and how great the people are here. So those are my experiences. It's the people. That's been my biggest takeaway since coming here.
That's really cool, because I've heard separate responses to similar questions when asking people, whether that be just with the community of, it's like it's an older mining town, right? So the community can kind of be, say, stubborn or not open to change as much, for lack of better terms. But I think when it comes down to doing things well and doing things with your intent being for the greater good, or like you said when we first chatted over FaceTime, was like doing things just to be like a bit of a bright light in somebody's day, because that makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I've had bad days, and then I've had somebody pay forward a coffee of mine, and I'm like, this is the greatest day.
And that's it. Yeah. That's all it takes. Like a
For
simple act of kindness like that to change someone's day. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do
Mm-hmm.
in this world is you don't know what someone might be going through on a daily basis just by looking at them. So even a small gesture like that, everybody is so meaningful. And I think about that every single time I go live, every time I do the weather or meet somebody. Think about what is the positive impact that I can have within this person.
Right on.
Yeah.
Now, what's been the most probably challenging career-wise? What's been like something that's been the biggest challenge for you, or like hurdle or obstacle you almost have to face?
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure that many people are going to say this, but like going into this career right now, it's been COVID, because I was somebody that no one in my position had done before. I was traveling all of northeastern Ontario. Like on a week basis, I was going up from here, hitting the Sioux, going to Wawa, and I was going into all the little towns. You know,
That's
noon at one
Yeah.
spot, 5 and 6 at the other, and I was getting to experience all of northeastern Ontario.
That's cool.
And that was the best part of my job. And then when COVID hit, we shut down. So everything shut down. So I'm not traveling. I was the only anchor that got moved into my home. So I was working from home for the past year and a half. All the other anchors, we had one anchor at a time into the newsroom, and I was at home. So the hardest thing I would say was continuously trying to bring that energy on a daily basis, 12 times a day, just sitting in my apartment with a camera.
That's tricky.
Yeah, so
man.
You know what? It was
No
it was definitely challenging, especially at the beginning, because you're in a new atmosphere, sitting down. I always stand at the green screen, so sitting was one thing too. I love to move around and talk with my hands.
It's different. It's different. Yeah. Dude, I understand completely. I understand completely.
So it was like
different.
that was hard for me, but that's been the most challenging thing. But you know what? I take it as a new learning experience, and now I have another thing that I'm able to do. It was a new atmosphere, sitting down, taking that in, and it's just growing my experience. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Did you do any like preparation, or do you have I'm sure you've seen it in with like the drama classes and stuff and the entertainment, but before every, like, there's vocal warm-ups and stuff before presentation stuff, and before actors they have like a routine that they do, right, to hit like that, whether it be the high vocals or whether it be the low pitches or whatever they need to hit, and then they have like their facial expressions that they need to do, or you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Do you have something like that, or a pre-game ritual to get in that high energy state of mind before you perform on the news? Because essentially that's what it is.
Yeah, and especially my role as a whole, because it goes from news, and then for 3 minutes when I come on, it's entertain, make people want to watch the weather.
Especially if you want to be that standout, like
that personality,
sunshine of the day, and the personality too.
Exactly. You know what? It's funny because I'll answer that question with something that I believe, which is why I have success, is because when the camera's turned on or the camera's turned off, I'm the exact same person.
Amazing.
And that authenticity comes through. So whether the camera's off before, I'm 10 seconds before the hit, and I'm jabbering my ear talking about the Sens loss or the Blue Jays or something hilarious until 5 seconds, we're laughing in our ear, then boom, I'm live. So it's
amazing.
We have so much fun the whole time that I really just have that same mindset through the day. And it can be difficult at times. Like if you're having a bad day, you can't show that.
No, you can't show that.
And people notice. Like if I'm a little bit off, you'll get emails.
Especially when you're that high.
Exactly.
People notice when you're a bit lower.
They come down, and you know what? And everyone has their days. Everyone has bad days, but it actually,
you're only human, right?
Yeah, but it still benefits me because I feel like when I do have to turn it on, in retrospect, that actually helps you become into a better move or whatever you're dealing with, because you're putting on that face, and then I remember what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm just honestly, man, I'm just myself. And that's that's the ritual. Yeah.
Nice. I've seen, it's cool that you talk about authenticity, because this has been kind of a point of conversation with a couple close friends of mine as of late, where it's tough to be authentic, especially nowadays in a world where everybody's trying to do something that everybody else has done.
Oh yeah.
Whether it be, I'd have like entrepreneur friends, and I hate that word, dude, I'm sorry, but I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and they're all starting to box. Like they're like, oh, we should do box. I'm like, listen, you guys are both gonna get hurt, and nobody's gonna watch. It's gonna be painful.
Yeah.
Please do it safely if you do. But like, there's so many people doing different things, and they see the results of one person. I think just by doing it, it'll be exact the same for them. not the case,
and
right?
like boxing. Why is boxing so like everyone, like all these new people, like all going into it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, I have no idea, and it's not an easy thing either.
No,
And it's not fun to get punched in the head.
no,
You know,
yeah,
not a big fan. So thankfully, it hasn't happened a lot of times, but that could be just a self thing where I just don't want to get hit, so I just don't put myself in that scenario.
yeah.
But
That's a pretty good
right,
idea.
like
yeah.
I don't like getting hit in the head. I'm gonna put myself in scenarios where I don't get hit in the head.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, how difficult is it for you to stay authentic and to be yourself in a world that and society that doesn't allow you to almost do that? Like, it makes it very tough to do that, especially nowadays. Right?
Yeah, and you know what? I think about how grateful I am in a position where I'm able to do something like this. And I have a platform where I'm able to make a difference. Like we said, something, a small gesture, like buying someone's coffee, right? Has tremendous impact. So I think that with the work that I'm able to do and be that positive light in everyone's day, hopefully, it's like allowed me to be happy about that.
Yeah.
So I think it's super
awesome.
important, and it's very difficult because some people don't have that, and I know that I'm somebody that is in a position where it doesn't feel like a job and it's a passion.
That's huge.
And it's huge, and I've been on the other side. You know, I was behind the scenes on the business side in the same company, and it's a complete 180. And still, I had great experiences and learned about the inside of the company, which has benefited me towards this now. But being able to love what I do on a daily basis has made me be able to be authentic and do that in this world. So I just don't take it for granted.
That's amazing. I think you have to, at that point, especially in order to grow and be comfortable in your own skin, is to be grateful, right? And express that gratitude towards, whether it be like close friends, just being like, yeah, have an amazing day.
Yeah.
Little things, right? Just telling people how much you care or how much you're like, I value what you're saying or who you are to me. And I think that's something that, as of, not so much lately, but I used to do like once a week, I would call. And this was crazy because a lot of people could text a lot of things.
Yeah.
But to call somebody and voice to voice is very like, it's tough. A lot of people hold back, right?
Yeah.
That's why the whole like, everybody's a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the whole like, say it to me, to my face, not rarely happens. Right, especially nowadays. But if you call somebody, and it's even more challenging, and you might not see this, or you might, but giving compliments is not that easy, but taking them is a lot harder, I find.
Definitely.
And so being able to like do that as a form of like expressing your gratitude for somebody or what they mean to you, I think lately has been something it's lost, and especially in a time where everyone's mildly depressed, has like a neutral state of mind. It's like, oh, how are you? I'm like, well, I'm always a bit more depressed than I used to be, right? Just with what's going on. So
that phone call or FaceTime is so much more meaningful than a text. It's unbelievable, the change. That just like hearing your friend's voice and you can hear the, like you said, authenticity. You can hear them wanting to know about your day or giving you a compliment or something like that. Yeah. And it's the same for me. Like ever since I moved here over the last couple of years, I have surrounded myself with people that are the most positive people like I've ever met, and all we want is the best for each other, whether that's for your career, whether it's for an event you're doing, your training,
100%.
And to be completely honest with you, that's what's kept me here so far. It's those relationships that I've built since I've moved to Sudbury based on those exact things.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you, like, when you started out in Sudbury, did you start with that mindset of like looking for those people, or did you find a couple people that were maybe not your type of people a year later, or?
It just happened.
Amazing.
I went to, it actually happened all at Apex Warrior, the gym I go to.
Shout out to them.
So they that's where I met everyone. Dennis Legault is the gym owner there, and me and him became best friends instantly.
Amazing.
We have a lot in common. He's the best.
I'm
you know what? The reason why I'm talking about these people and how great of friends they're going to be for the rest of my life is because of him, is because he is the leader of the gym and he projects his energy upon everybody that comes in. So it's his gym and it's his energy, and now I've met friends that I'll have for a lifetime.
That's cool, dude. I love that you said You didn't say he's the owner of the gym when you introduced kind of what his role is. You're like, he's the leader.
Yeah, he's the leader.
Amazing.
Or as he would like to say, the apex boss. Okay,
the apex boss.
That's what he likes.
Yeah, doesn't get more top of the mountain, eh?
No, it does not.
Awesome. Hey, man, like, believe it, right?
Yeah.
Like, go for it for sure. I think that was something that I found because of how long I've lived in Sudbury since I moved back, like, been 3-4 years now, since school ended and stuff. I found you gravitate towards people who you used to be friends with, and I found, and I'm sure you might have noticed this like with old friends, but people tend to drift off, and I think a lot of it happens when you're like, I want to do this, and people are like, whatever, maybe, but then you actually put in the work and the steps to do that, and you're not just doing it for a week, you're doing it for like months turns to years, and people are like, oh, you're getting better at this thing that 3 years ago you had no idea about. And I feel people have an issue with, they almost get intimidated by people trying to achieve their goals. And then they drift apart. You drift apart, but you succeeding don't see that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
the few times this has happened, I've had people point it out, be like, that's why they're not around. Because you want to do this. And it could be something small, right? It could be like, I don't really like, I want to start a podcast. I want to have all these cool people on. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to talk. I want to share. Like, build community, build friends, everything. And they're like, oh, you can't start a podcast.
Why
but then you
that?
do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Right? It's weird to them. It's this thing that you think of an idea and then you manifest it.
Yeah.
And you turn it into something that could be good.
You know what, man?
It's weird.
And it's funny you say that because upon reflection over the last few years, I have an incredibly close group from home back in Ottawa that are spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's big partiers. It was going to the bars all the time. It was doing all these things. And
you
since I
have to
came
do.
here, it's which you
Yeah.
do have to do. And since I came here, it was all health, fitness,
Amazing.
meditation, bettering myself, becoming a better overall person of what that meant to me.
Right.
And originally, to some of our friends, it might be like, oh, like he's just doing this now or that now. But now we're at the point where it's had a positive impact on even them, or like they support every single thing that I'm doing, and it's actually pushed them to do certain athletic
cool.
or fitness things, which
That's
is
cool.
really cool for me.
That is, man. You're inspiring.
Yeah, because
that's awesome.
Because it's hard to step out of an area like that and then feel like, well, I'm going down this path now.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that my other path doesn't neglect me or judge me because I'm doing this now, and they
cool.
don't. And that was a phenomenal feeling to be able to live this life. Still have your weekends, and when you do stuff like that, go to the bars,
right?
You need to.
You're human. You want to
exactly.
Yeah, you gotta let loose, right? It's gotta balance
but
out.
that was it's a really incredible feeling having both of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool that it's not, in your case especially, that it sounds like it was more often than not, it was people would rise with you and you'd bring people up and then you guys just elevate together.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, and
cool.
it's the best feeling ever.
Absolutely.
And surrounding yourself with those people and like constantly is the most wonderful thing. And I don't think I could ever talk about that enough and about how important that is for your growth.
That's cool. I used to have, obviously I won't name names, we used to have like friends, and let's say I hang with Pat a couple times a week. We'll plunge, whatever.
Oh, the cold plunge.
Yeah,
it's the best. Oh, yeah. I got a cold tub in my backyard.
Yeah? Amazing. We'll get into that in a bit. But so that's what we do, right? We'll kick it and then we can get stuff off our chest and we can kind of, we're both very like forward growth mindset thinkers, right? As you can imagine.
Yeah.
From how well you know him. But I was just trying to bounce business like philosophies, like, hey man, what are you doing with this client? Like the industry is how you react this way and how do you not let it get the best of you? He's training for this, I'm training for that. I'm trying to run this project, he's trying to run that. And just building these things, and you're kind of like similar scheduled, like it's all the goals are similar, right? We have them.
Yeah.
Best thing, like, I don't have, just have goals. They can be big, they can be small, they could be something completely unrelated or completely the same thing as what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Don't care, it doesn't matter. It's all goals at the end of the day. And I think something from hanging out with people like that just play video games, or they just had like a negative like way of looking at things, like, their places were a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, what are you, like, hey man, come on over for food. I'm like, food? There's like, I don't want to come over and just sit and do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I can do nothing by myself. I can play music or do something, right? Edit anything, right? And so seeing that almost shift of like you're almost envious when you're in that stage. I found myself envious of people doing well, or achieving what they wanted to achieve and working on what they wanted to work on. And I found myself not focusing a lot of time on working on my own shit, but a lot of time focusing on what other people were doing.
Yeah.
And that was not healthy.
No, having your own goals is super important no matter what they are. And I think that when you realize that you've surrounded yourself with like the group of people like we talk about, and then you go into an atmosphere that's negative, and you can tell right away the effect that's going to have on you. Yeah, it is. It's like the light just shines.
It's crazy, isn't it?
You're just like, oh,
yeah. Like I used to
surround myself with this. I used to like kind of be like this, and it's like, 100%, what was I doing? But again, like I never have any regrets, because everything that you do, you learn from, and it gets you to where you are.
Exactly.
So knowing that but you still sometimes think, oh man, I can't believe. Like that's what I used to do, or I used to have the energy like that once you step out of it.
Or you would put your energy towards those things.
Yeah.
It's like, why is all my energy on what other people I barely know are doing?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna get mad at them because they're spreading positivity and I'm just not that happy.
Yeah.
What's the problem? So then it's like an insecurity, but then you feed off, like you said. It's almost like you're the byproduct of the 5 people. But if you start hanging around with people who are like, they're trying to achieve this, they're like training for like worlds in this, but then they want to be in the Olympics there, and then they're like running this business, and then you're like, well, I can only get better by being with them. And then somebody said something, my trainer Pat, Pat Bryce, way back when, I was like, it was one of my good training partners, Corey, and our jiu-jitsu professor. The two of them would always invite me, and we'd be doing like separate private classes, like the 3 of us, like during the whole like COVID, how it would be like, yo, gym's closed, but like, yo, the 3 of us, like, let's go train. And it was cool because we never had that time off, so there was no weird like plateaus, but we would do that. And I was telling him, I was like, hey man, like I'm grateful, I get to be with them, I train, like it's cool that and they're like, dude, he's like, dude, that's a testament of what they think of you as well. And I never thought about it like that, right? Like you're around all these cool people, you're like, man, like the Apex boss, like all these people, they're like, man, like Chris, Pat, right? All these people are like doing big things, spreading the utmost. Like I don't have the stamina to be that positive all the time, and they're doing it. And it's not a fake, it's not a fad. There's no imposter about it. Like that's just who they are and what they're doing, and they project it all the time. And that was something that I was like, never even thought about it. But they're probably thinking the same thing, if not something similar at the least, about you.
Yeah, well, that's why you get along so well, right? Because, and that's such a good point, because you don't think about that. Who thinks about themselves in that way? You think about the people you surround yourself with.
Exactly.
You think about them, and then you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm around them because, and they're around me because we all think the same, or we think the same of each other. Yeah, that's a mind.
That was cool, right? Because you're 100% right? Like you don't think about what other people think about why you're there. Like, man, why am I hanging out with these people? You don't look at it that way, especially from a constructive, positive point, right?
Yeah.
I think it's easier, and as humans, we default to negativity.
Oh yeah.
As much as like,
it's much easier to be negative than it is to be happy. Yeah.
It takes a lot of thought. So
yeah, and the basis behind what I've definitely learned over the last couple of years is you need to be like happy within yourself. Mm-hmm. And to project that and be there for other people. Yeah. So like, and I think that a lot of us have that too. We're all like really happy with like where we are, and we know who we are, and we're confident in that, and that allows us to be these positive people to anyone around us.
Right. For sure. And I think so to your point with the surrounding, the who you surround yourself with is huge. But with the whole self-reflection and the easier to be negative, it's something that I find myself, at least from my own experiences, you might be the same or not, but it's harder to get into a negative, like you think default. And if you're happier all the time, it's huge. And I was telling Pat, my buddy Ben, who's on the podcast I just had, excuse me, they both are engaged. I've been in a relationship for a few years. Whenever I see them posting cute stuff, I'm like, amazing. It warms my heart. But I have also told them both to their face multiple times, hey guys, if I was single right now, I would hate you both. I would hate your relationships. But, it's like if you're doing happy and you're doing well in that aspect, right? And even if you are in a relationship and you don't feel good about it, you still have that like, I'm envious, I want what they have, right? And it's
perspective is everything.
It's huge, dude.
Yeah.
It's huge. And I think when people add that different perspective, right, like the, hey, they think of you that way, as well as you think of them. It's a double-edged, like, two-way street, let's say.
Yeah, you know what? If you probably broke down let's just talk about, like, if you go into, like, the social media world or something, and you see, like, a couple, and they're posting, like, wonderful pictures, and then, like, this getaway of weekend, depending on who you are and where you're at in your life, that's either going to make you feel extremely happy for them, and the fact that you know that you have something like that as well, and you'll like it, or you'll be the other person, just be like, oh, this is stupid, like, I have to do this, and that's all depending on where you're at in your life.
Exactly. And it's also a great point, dude. It's also it's deeper than just like, oh yeah, I'm happy for you.
Yeah. Right? Absolutely.
No,
and that's more of the younger thing too.
Exactly, right? It's a how you feel deep down. If you're genuinely happy, then there's no insecurity about that aspect.
Yeah.
Right? Which takes away from the negativity that can come out. It's just like, yo, you're genuinely happy in your relationship? You're going to be genuinely happy for mine.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, oh. So it works out better that way, and I think everybody's happier, and then when everybody's happier, things grow, and then you're around cooler people and more fun people, and then everything just gets better.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny, when I look back on a few situations, it became apparent to me, it's like, who you are, a lot about who you are is really judged by who you surround yourself with.
100%.
And I feel like it's when you come across people like you and me, and we talk about Pat, and it's like, well, of course you're friends with this guy, or of course you're like this, because we're at the stage now where we're all in that same wavelength of being positive and happy and trying to be a greater person every day, and have a positive impact on this world. And I feel like that's super important.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it too. You're like, well, obviously, you guys get along.
I know.
Like, all you want to do is like train, be a bright light in people's life, and you're hanging out with this guy who's always smiling. Weird how you two would find each other.
Yeah, and like, come on, what's better than that? What's better than surrounding yourself with somebody that's genuinely happy every single time, no matter what it is that you're doing? Like going to a restaurant, how happy are you? We're going to eat, or that you hit a fitness goal, or anything in your life. Like, having that positive atmosphere around you at all times is amazing, and I don't think it could ever be you could never understand the amount of wealth that can have on your life.
Yeah, dude, it's a way of, like, even now it's very, very contagious. Like, just talking to you now, I'm like, man, there's an energy. I'm like, it's contagious.
It's like, oh, I think we gotta stand up.
You gonna rep up some biceps or what? Go put this thing on pause real quick.
Yeah.
Hit some pull-ups on the ring. Amazing, dude. It's a really good way of looking at it. I think that's a cool thing, that if everybody you're around, it's elevating, and then it's contagious, and then you want to be that person to other people.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's a shame people don't rise up. But then those are the, like, okay, I know we're good friends and everything, but you gotta move on.
Yeah, and when you find those people, the biggest advice I can have is make sure that you continue to be around them, have yourself in their lives, have them in yours, because those are the people that are extremely meaningful for your life. So, like, no matter what happens here, if I move on, that I know that the group of people that I've met here, I will always keep in contact with them, like, forever, because it's that important.
It is, yeah. That's super important.
Yeah.
I think, now, when it comes to introducing yourself to those 5 people, or the average people you surround yourself with, and almost like picking your friends in a way, right? Or picking the people you surround yourself with. How do you go about doing that when, like, it's a new place or a new city or something like that?
Yeah, you know what? It was all based on, I would say, like, the energy levels that you get from someone. I've always been a very firm believer in, like, the energy that you get when you first meet someone or you surround yourself with people. There's a click there.
Yeah.
And depending on where you are in your life is who you're going to kind of connect with. And I think that at my point in my life, at that time, that's why I was able to connect with these guys at Apex Warrior and girls, because we were all having the same goals and we had the same energy level. And depending on where I was in my life, I would attract different people. You know, when I was in the music industry, it was based on people who, you know, when I was in Vancouver, like, who were creating music, and we were being artists, and like, you're a phenomenal singer, like, we should work together. And now it's just changed and adapted in towards, you're such a positive, fun person, you know, you bring purpose. And like, I think purpose is the number one thing that I've learned within my entire life, is the purpose behind everything. So like, this friend group brings me so much purpose, and it's all joy and laughter. And as soon as you see that, it's just, I wanted to be around them all the time. All these adventures that I've never done before, the hiking, the camping, the trips, the running, the training, all of that. That's where I was at. So I think it's all based on where you want to be at in your life at that time, which is who you kind of vibrate off of and connect with.
It's huge. I think now, with that being said, take me through kind of the paddle for purpose now. Like, let's get into that. How did that kind of, why on a paddleboard, dude? Like, take me through the beginning of that process, from the idea and a thought in your mind or somebody's mind, to you completing it and raising money and awareness.
It's funny because the stand-up paddleboard itself, when you just think about why I chose that, I had a couple of ideas in mind, maybe a triathlon, 24-hour race, this and that, and then all of a sudden, like, I was actually working on a plan of a bike, a run, and a kayak, and then I just had this idea, and I just went, no, I'm changing this, and I'm doing a 24-hour straight stand-up paddleboard. And I went, you don't know why, is because when someone would look at that, they would go, you're doing what? And it would draw that much more attention towards what I was doing.
Right.
Because I think that there were so many question marks, and people would be so much more interested because of what it was. And Paddle with Purpose started because my brother-in-law, Mario, he passed away from an extremely rare form of cancer back in 2019. So this was a guy that was 33 years old at the time.
Way too young.
Healthy as can be. Didn't smoke a cigarette. Barely drank.
That's the
worked
worst,
out football player. He was he was. We talk about like bright lights in people's lives. He was the brightest light in anyone's lives. He was the guy that made me look bad at my own home, because he's getting up in the morning and mowing my dad's grass at the lake or whatever it's doing. He's always has a smile on his face, even when he was going through his cancer. When he passed away, I had an idea in mind that I wanted to do something in his memory. And the best way that I could do that was something fitness oriented, because it was a passion of mine. And I wanted to do something where I could bring positive change, because that's all he ever did. So I discussed with my sister about an organization called CORD, the Canadian Organization for Rare Disorders, which basically no one knows about. Like about 95-96% of the people that I talked to when I discussed Paddle with Purpose didn't know what the organization was, and that's why this was so important. So I put together the plan and started training. As soon as that ice broke on Ramsey Lake, I was in there. Like late March, early April. I mean, the cold plunges maybe not so scared, because we do those anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was on there in the paddle. People are on the boat, like, "Well, are you crazy?" They're fishing out there. I'm off doing my paddling.
They're in their sweats.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just in my wetsuit paddling. We did the TV promos, I did social media campaigns, I did a lot of work, had some great sponsors involved as well that helped push the message. I actually got to go on national TV on the morning show and to talk about it, which was really special for me. Not only was that special for the fact that it was able to get that word out there, but in my career, that's
huge.
That's the top that it goes, right? That's the dream.
For sure. That's sick,
so,
dude, especially doing it for something like that.
Exactly, and I was so passionate about it because it was so meaningful to me. So Paddle with Purpose was created, did the training 4 times a week on the water, 5 times in the gym, and then the day came, and it was one of the most, if not will be, the most incredible experience I've ever been on in my life. For multiple reasons. There was so much built up energy and emotions for 7 months, you know, the training, the thinking about what it's for. And I'm an emotional guy, and Mario and I were extremely close. So I was able to see through that paddle the support that I had through my family, through my friends here, through companies that provided the boat, money, whatever it would be. Remaco's provided me with like the board, you know, like all these companies that stepped up and understood my purpose. People like Matt and Chris who came on the support boat, my girlfriend Jerica who was there throughout the 24 hours. Amazing. Just the energy levels that were there and the amount of support that I saw gave me a new sort of feeling that I've never felt before. And then I went through the paddle, and I had people coming out on boats, handing checks, people waving at their docks, waiting for me to go by, all lined up at Bell Park from the beginning, middle, and end, just waving, like giving their support, seeing the total money that was raised, and then always going up, and just seeing how just doing that fundraiser could positively impact this world, and seeing the community come as a whole just showed the true power of what we can do when we want to do something positive like that in this world. And it was so powerful to me to see the impact that you can have, especially when you're working together. And that was the biggest thing for me. And there was a few moments on that paddle, I think it was at hour 18, 19 when I was paddling, you know, and we had a lot of fun. The boat had like a slide on it. The support boat people are going on and off of that. But there was like this window between about like 18 and 21, 22 hours where I got into this groove where I was just thinking about Mario and paddling. And given the year that we've had, it's been, COVID is everywhere. All these things are going on. There's so much going on in your mind. For those 3 hours, nothing else mattered in the entire world except for the paddle and Mario. And looking across at the boat, I could see Pat and my girlfriend Jerica, and they were staring at me. And for 3 hours, there wasn't a word said, and we all shared that energy for the moment. And it was
intense.
It was so intense, and they could feel what I was feeling without having to say anything. And it was just paddling. It was just paddle.
That's huge.
Thinking about Mario, and it was.
It's heavy.
It is heavy, and it was extremely special. And that's a moment that we'll share. And then a couple hours later, everyone comes out. And I see all my friends and family, and as we're paddling in, there was a nasty surprise at the end. I didn't know my mom was going to be there, so my girlfriend had linked up with my mom. I know.
Come on, dude.
So there she is.
That's who you hugged right out the gate.
Right out the gate. So I'm paddling in, and I actually don't even see her first. Okay, I don't even see her. I just hear a very distinct and I'm like,
you're like, you knew, eh?
I know it. And then I was keeping it together, and then as soon as I heard that, I just started bawling. Like I lost it. I thought it was gonna be okay, and it was okay. I love to feel my emotions, and I got off the board and I just cried and I just hugged her, and like to this day I'll tell her that is like a special moment that we'll share for the rest of our lives.
You can't buy that.
No, you can't.
You can't recreate that. Nothing.
No, and it was amazing, man. Like going through that whole experiencing and seeing the support and knowing the impact that I could have, like it was life changing.
Dude, I can imagine. Now, when you were paddling, no matter what time, and you saw people paddle halfway across the lake to give you a check, people like cheering from their docks, making signs, right, with their kids, like, you know, how they know about you is like, it's awesome, right? Because they probably see you on the news, or they see you like around, or their parents, right? How does that make you feel when you're at the beginning stages of that and you see all that? Like, how does that feel? Like, is it just like, oh man, it's super cool? Or like, how does that hit you?
No, it's mind-boggling, because I'm behind the camera every day, and sure, I know there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching, but I don't see them. So when I'm doing those things and I see the people come up and they're talking about my brother-in-law and what I'm doing, or how's your puppy doing, and these things, and they hand you a check, you know? It just goes to show that the impact that I'm having. And they're honestly, selfishly, I don't know if there's a better feeling than that, than knowing that those people are doing these things. And it's still surreal to me. I think I'm still kind of getting used to it, because it's still a little bit like, I'm just like, it's just like anything, right? I'm just like coming on and doing the weather, but it's
perspective, right? Like
exactly, it's perspective. So it still warms my heart, and I'm grateful for every single person that tunes in, that donates, that does anything like that, because that's what everything is all about for what I do. It's all about those connections, connecting with somebody every day. So I'm still extremely grateful for those experiences, and every single time, doesn't matter how many there are, I'm always like, oh, like that is so cool.
So I can imagine there are a bunch of experiences, that kind of mini experiences, right, that took place during the 24 hours. I want to ask you about a very specific experience. What was it like having a support boat for only 23 hours and 40 minutes at the time? Like, what happened there, man? Tell me about that. Pat mentioned to me that there was a 20-minute span that we couldn't get him for the full day. Eh?
Oh like, my goodness!
What happened there, dude?
The time that they lost me.
At nighttime. What, support boat for the support boat?
Yeah, you know what? It is so funny. Telling the story is hilarious because
awesome.
We were only I took off at 6:30. This is about 10 o'clock. So we're only a few hours in.
But it's dark.
Oh, it's dark.
Yeah,
it's dark. So we're only a few hours in, but it's pitch black. And we were getting a night shooter from CTV to come out on the boat to get some night shots of me.
Oh, okay.
So we pulled up in the support boat. They picked him up. We got the night shots. And then he had to leave. So they dropped him back off. And they said, well, like, stay right in this bay right here. Or like along this shoreline and we'll come back and find you. So yeah, no problem.
Easy, right?
Easy. So I started paddling the shoreline and going. It's starting to become like pitch black. And I'm starting to think, like, where are they? Like, it couldn't have taken this long.
To just pick up the person.
To just pick up or drop them off.
Drop them off, that's right. Yeah.
But I know that where they were dropping them off, it was a little bit shallow. So I'm like, oh, man, did they get stuck?
And you're, like, playing out worst case.
Worst case.
No!
And as soon as you get to that situation, all you're thinking about is worst case, right?
Default to the worst possible
thing. And I'm like, I don't have anything. Like, they have my phone. They have everything. I'm out here in the dark, and I'm like, all right, okay. Here we go. And then I see this boat go by, and I'm like, oh. And I'm like, nope, that's not them.
Dude.
And then I see this, and this was probably a good, whatever time it was, 30, 40 minutes, 20, 40 minutes. It seemed a lot longer, I'll tell you that. Because on the paddleboard, I got no light.
Yeah, no sense of time. You probably had your watches, but that's about it.
Yeah, I just had my watch, so... Oh, man, and then I see this boat in, like, the bay, okay? But the boat that I had... It was Legend Boats, and it had like a blue light around the whole exterior of it, so you could see it from a mile away.
Right.
So this boat came into this bay and sat there with just like the light. So I'm like, okay, like that's not them, and that was that for probably like 10 minutes.
Because there's no blue light.
There's no blue light, and then all of a sudden I start hering and getting closer. And then I started hearing Pat's voice and Jericho's voice.
Course, yeah.
And then they're like, put your headlight on! They're all freaking out. They found me. I'm like, why is the blue light on? I'm like, why is the blue light on? That's why we have this thing. So we have this big back and forth. And then the best thing was, then they tell me their side. And it was like, so I'm like, guys, we're 3-4 hours in and my support boat breaks down. Come on, we need to pull it
We
together.
haven't even made a dent into this thing yet. Get your shit together.
I was like, come on, get it together.
Amazing.
And so they're thinking, they go out, they're following the shoreline, they can't find me. So from their mind, they're like, oh no, like, where is he? Like, we told him to follow the shoreline. And I had just paddled further than they thought I was going to.
Oh no.
So then my buddy Ryan puts his head in his hands on the driver's seat, puts his head down, like, we lost him. Jericho loses her mind. Yeah. Pat's like, on the inside, freaking out, but trying to keep it together for all them.
Classic.
Like, and then they finally find me.
If I lose it, everything's off.
Exactly. Yeah. So as soon as they found me, he's like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was losing my mind. But he kept it together for the two of them.
Amazing.
There was some emotional moments that went on there, and I pull up. I'm like, hey guys, like, it took you so long, but they had a full freak out because it's like, when are they going to be able to find me? It's dark for a very long time, and I'm just on Ramsey Lake. So it was that was hilarious, and it's still funny to this day.
Brother, I've heard him tell two different people that story, and I remember him telling me, because we were on Ramsey, we were plunging in moonlight. It was like 11 o'clock on like a Thursday.
Yeah.
And we were plunging at moonlight because we go at night. It's quiet. It's dark, right? The lights, and it hits different, right? It's quiet. It's calm. No stress, right? Easy. And I remember us sitting there. Speak of the devil, actually.
There he is.
Yeah. So if I had everything hooked up, I put him on, but no. So he's like, he told me that. He's like, yo, so we lost Will. I was like, what do you mean you lost Will? Like, that's how he prefaced it. He's like, yo, so by the way, we lost Will on the paddle. I'm like, hold on. You didn't think to. It was like 2 weeks after, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, what do you mean you lost Will on the paddle? I'm like, first of all, you're not in San Diego, right? You're not at, like, San Clemente Island. You know, like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry, right? There's no sharks. You'll be good. I'm like, if you fall in, you'll swim to shore. Like, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be on the water if you were terrified of it, right?
Right.
So I was like, he'll be good if he's lost. That's what I'm thinking when he's telling me this, right? I'm like, hold on. You guys had a motorboat.
Yeah.
A plethora of people every couple hours, always on, like, kayaks and stuff. And, like, people, you were live streaming the majority of it. There's X amount of videos. How do you lose? I'm like, in the first couple hours, you failed to do the one thing. I just went off and I'm like, in like a humorous way, right? Because I love the guy. I'm like, who am I to give him crap about this?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, you failed to do the one thing that you had to do. Not even 1/12 of the way through the paddle. And he's like, yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Will, and then after I said my whole, like, 5-minute bit about how I'm like, you guys failed to do your one job, you know, and I'm losing it and, like, laughing because I can't believe he just told me this out of nowhere. Like, it's quiet for 3.5 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
And Will, he goes, yeah, so we lost Will.
He's still thinking about it.
I'm like, hold on. Like, it was just so quiet. I'm like, dude, this lake's great. And he's like, so we lost Will. I was like, what's going on here?
That means he still feels bad. That means he still thinks about it.
It's probably because he didn't take it seriously right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? He's probably like, they're freaking out for nothing. And he's like, it's just Will. You know? And then he's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have thought. We
can't find him.
Oh no, we can't find him. I didn't take it seriously right away. Maybe if I took it seriously, we would have found him sooner and he wouldn't have drowned. I'm like, dude, there's no sharks. He can swim to the shore. There's lights.
Yeah.
He'll be okay, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, amazing.
A few hours in, support team breaks down.
Just failed to do the one.
Nowhere to be found. As soon as it gets dark, to the worst time, right? Like
literally, you're like, it was pitch black.
Pitch black, and like around moonlight, there's no lights.
That's
because
true.
All the cottages and all the homes, Bell Park, it's lit up, no problem. I wouldn't need anything.
Yeah, because the boardwalk.
It's black and it was foggy, so like you couldn't see anything.
Ooh. So 10 o'clock's probably musky. Dude, I was praying, because I didn't know you, but I knew what you were doing it for. I knew of you. I had talked to Pat a bunch and how serious he was taking about it. I talked to Chris a handful of times before as well. And just hearing how, because I saw him recently, Pat and I paid a visit to his house, and we chatted, and then hearing how enthusiastic they were about what you were doing and hearing why you were doing it, and then to now hear it, doing it for, is it your brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Huge. Like, absolutely epic. I'm at loss of words, to be honest, when I hear, like, doing something like that, because that's a full day, man. That's a lot of, like, commitment and stuff. And what was your, like, mental preparation like for that? Because I found in my past experiences with things that I need to prep for mentally, it's great if I'm chatting with friends and I'm like, yeah, guys, in 2 weeks I got a jiu-jitsu tournament. But if I compete at 9 a.m. on the Saturday morning and it's 11:30 on Friday night and I haven't slept and no one's around and I'm by myself with my thoughts, that's when that shit comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? What was your, like, mental training like, your mental preparation, let's say? What was that like? Because that's a long time.
Yeah, so I did a couple of things to prepare myself. I knew that if I had done these things, I would feel better come to the day of.
Yeah.
So I went on some nighttime paddles to get used to the dark. Because going through the dark is a whole different beast. Like, when it's not light out there, your whole mindset changes.
Yeah.
So I went through the night a couple of times, and then I did a few big paddles. Like, I did lots of training, so I knew that I could do it. But my longest paddle was 12 hours. And that felt long. Like, I did it, and I was, like, feeling good. But it's like, I have to double that. Yeah. So I'm going into it, I was like, okay, like, it's still a huge task.
Humongous,
what I'm going to be doing. But you know what? And this is what I'll tell everybody when they ask me, you know, what was it like doing that, or like your hardest point, or what it was. And to be honest with you, through the amount of, I'm going to say, adrenaline that I had from all the months of prep, the awareness of, like, that we were live on TV, the support vote, the reasons behind it, I felt so confident, and I felt so good, and I knew that the entire time that Mario was beside me, and I could feel that, and that got me through the entire paddle. There might have been a small window leading up to in like the middle of it when it was like 2 a.m. and I just got like the yawns because it was like time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And I just thought about him and powered through. But like the mental prep going into it, I knew I had months to think about, like, this is not about me. This is about Mario and the impact that he had on me. And I'm doing this in his honor. So every single time that I thought about the paddle, all I was excited to get out there.
That's awesome.
And be able to do my part in helping other people in very difficult situations. So I just thought about that the whole time. That was my mindset.
Nice.
And then, I rested the day before. Pat came over the day of, and he was talking there. One of my best buddies was there. My girlfriend had laid out a bunch of food and stuff that I carried with me. Honestly, I didn't even have a moment of, oh no, or oh crap.
Yeah, like, what have I got myself into?
Yeah, it was just, you've trained for this, you know that you can do it, and remember the why, the purpose behind what you're doing.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like it's just you're very confident in your preparation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the training was there. I had paddled so much, 4 times a week. And my minimum paddles were 3 hours on the water. That was the minimum that I was going out there.
Doing, yeah.
Right? So it was like 3 on a Tuesday, 3 on a Thursday, then 5 on a Saturday, 6 on a Sunday.
Just consistency.
Yeah, so I knew that the numbers were there. So I was confident in that, but you never know, like, what it might bring, what the weather was going to be like. There were so many question marks, but I was definitely confident that way, and I had a wonderful, wonderful support team with me through the whole time with Pat and Jericho, and then with friends that came in and out, like Chris, like Matt, like Dennis, like Richard, the people that came out and supported me through the actual paddle itself.
That's cool, man. So, with all the preparation and all the confidence you had going into the long paddle. Jeez, every time I think of paddle for a day. Goddamn. But could you define what would be your definition of hard work?
Definition of hard work.
Just from what you've seen and what you've seen as something that's achieved, or when you think you've worked hard, or what you've seen from other people?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that it's a couple of things. I think that it's something that you can definitely see in somebody. I think that it's continuing to do something that you're failing at to ensure that you don't fail at it anymore. I think that that's super important because without failure, you can't grow. And it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It
Everything,
could be, it doesn't matter if it's business related, fitness related. So if you see someone that keeps trying to do something or try to better themselves or trying to attain this goal, let's say it was, weightlifting and you're trying to hit this weight and you just can't and you get in your head or quit. Let's say it was something at a job and you keep going through it, or law school and you're trying to pass the bar and you keep and then you get it.
Yeah.
I think that's being able to continuously do something like that shows a lot of hard work. And I think it's different for each individual person for what that means relative towards what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
For me, that was definitely hard work balancing it all. So it was hard work, the TV side, the emotions, the family, the charity, the sponsors, the workouts. I mean, the workouts alone that was my whole life.
Minimum 3 hours on a board.
Yeah, 3 hours plus the workout, right? So it's 5 workouts a week plus the 3, 6, 15 hours a week paddling. Yeah. So the time wasn't there.
That's crazy.
But you know what? But I think of hard work even as something that I think about when I was a kid. My dad owns a contracting company, so I was there on a lawnmower as soon as you were able to. And out there with a plower, and you see the difference between hard work when you get into a business and people that are just there to check in and check out. I think it's very adamant based on visually just what you can see and like we talk about the energy levels and what people project. So I think that's the biggest case of it because you can tell right away from somebody if they're working hard or not. But to me, it's something like that continuously doing something that's difficult that you can one day accomplish.
I think that's the key of what you said too just now. You said it's continuously doing something that's difficult, right? I think the difficulty makes the result not guaranteed but worth it. You get there if it's difficult, but anyone can do something every day that's easy.
Yeah.
Right? But where's that level of challenge that you get? Because it's the uncomfortability and you might fail at it if it's hard.
Yeah.
But that's what, like you said, that's where you grow, and that's where you notice the biggest, like, most drastic changes.
Yeah, and like you just said, uncomfortability. Stepping out of your out of your comfort zone is the most important thing that you can do in your life for growth. And I understand that now more than ever.
Oh, for sure.
If you just stick in this one hole and just you're here, no matter whether it's you're staying at home or you're not going out because of this, or you're staying in this fitness just because it's a routine and you're comfortable with it, you're not going to grow. You're not going to gain perspective. You're not going to understand things outside of that bubble. And that's how you're able to get to certain mindsets and perspectives, like I believe that we've achieved. And that's just beginning. There's so much more, but understanding that allows you to do things like that. So I think that's really important.
Now, something I've kind of noticed lately, and whether it be talking to people on the show or whether it be just researching people, I kind of like to study patterns of people doing or achieving things that I want to achieve, whether it be with podcast or business or just athletics in general, and study kind of what patterns that they put together in order to achieve their goals. And one thing I noticed lately with one guy is he posted like a list of all the guests he had on. He was like having and had lined up for his show, and I was like, "Are you crazy? This is huge, man!" I'm like, "Wow," And so seeing that, and then reading like what he said, he was like, "Dude, the whole thing, what he says, he's like, he led with not only he's like, it's 6 years of hard work, and the secret, the one thing that stood out of this big post and stuff that I found with him and then a lot of other people is he's like, I'm more consistent than 90% of the population." And I was like, ooh. And he's like, this is how many episodes I've done in this amount of time. I'm like, wow, okay. So that's where my mindset then shifted from, I'll do once every couple times a month, maybe if things can line up. I'm like, no, be serious, take it seriously, once a week, like grow it. Try to be like, just get better at a skill, right? Like develop conversation skills, develop like your charisma, like learn about your guests, research, prepare for conversations and things you think would be good, and like hence the chat before we even meet each other in person, right? Like all that stuff to kind of gauge the energy and gauge what we should talk about and figure out what we shouldn't and where to kind of line, make it as good as a conversation and as fun as an experience for both of us and for the audience. And I think that's something that's huge. Because you said it a bunch of times where you said continuously, doing it continuously. Like, dude, it's huge how much of a role being consistent and doing something continuously play.
Yeah, that's how
you
grow.
Achieving what you want.
Right? Like, the more I paddle, the better I'm going to get at paddling. The more you podcast, the more you're going to come up with different ideas or different guests or different mannerisms or different things that you're able to do to make it bigger and greater. Yeah. So being able to do that and continuously working hard on that and showing that you care, it's not like so many people think things like happen overnight, and you'll talk to some of the most successful people, they'll always tell you it was a grind. There was all of these things and hundreds of thousands of hours spent doing this before I got to here. It wasn't like an overnight
it's crazy.
This thing, and so that's why it's so important to do things like that. Like, you know what, if you're serious about this subject A, go at it full guns blazing. Give it everything you have, and no matter what happens with that, even if you give it everything you have and you find out it's not for you, you know that you
have the answer.
You have the answer. Oh, this wasn't it. I gave this everything I have. This isn't the right path.
At least knowing you tried everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is important, because I'm a firm believer in like not having any regrets in doing things. Right. Like do this, or you know what, even if it's something simple, like, oh, I'm not like feeling that well today, but I had this trip planned, but you know what, imagine you like miss out on that or something, like, that's just like a small thing. But I think it's really important to do as many experiences and things as possible, because I don't want to ever wake up one day and go, I should have done this, or I wonder what that would have been like. That's what will haunt me.
Yeah, it's not something that's really ever want to experience.
No. Like, could you imagine, like, you see it in people, and you can see it in adults, and even like
all the time
our friends going on. You're like, you're going down this path. Like, you're going down the path where you're not going to be happy later on in life, and it's very hard to it's very difficult to express that to someone, especially someone that's close to you. Like, you know what, I don't think you should be doing this.
Because they look at you as not somebody who, like, they look at you as somebody, oh, why are you giving me free advice? You know, like, it's like, who are you to, because they look at you as, like, maybe like a friend or like an equal, somebody who's like, maybe, well, what do you know?
Yeah.
That's the one. It's like, well, my whole brain is wired differently. And the worst part is that I found is the further you go down the path, the deeper you go down the hole, the harder it is to climb out, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And a lot of people are like, well, if you got there, chances are climbing back out isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do that.
Very.
So understanding that you need to either back out of a situation or continue to do something else is super important. But that's something that, you know, there's a lot of things that I'll continuously gain perspective on or think about or learn, but I know for a fact that is a simple fact that I do not want to have regrets in my life, because I know that it will just eat me alive, knowing like, oh man, like I didn't take this job opportunity or do this, or I didn't do this, or no matter what it is. And, you know, even if the reason is so silly, at the time you look back and you go, wow, I can't believe I didn't do this because of this. How ridiculous is that? I missed out on potentially what could have been an incredible experience because of this, and like, it doesn't matter what it is. And you think back, when you think back to high school and stuff, you're like, oh my God,
I put so much pressure on one decision, and now it means nothing.
It means nothing, and you think about all these things, and I constantly think about how little those things were, but at the time, it is like, it's like everything in your world, no matter what it is. You know, you're growing up in these emotions, and like, it's so important, and like, that's the whole world to you. And now I'm at a point when you look back in those situations, and I'm like, oh man, Will, you got some things to learn, man. Like, come on, it's not so bad. There's so much more to life, and it's so funny to think about that and be in a mindset now to look back and go, oh, poor kid.
Dude, 100%. Poor kid.
Yeah.
Amazing.
She's not the one, don't worry.
It's always that. You're like, she's not the one.
She's not the one.
She was at the time.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, man. My friends thought she was cool. My mom hated her. But,
yeah, but it doesn't matter at that time. It's all that matters.
Oh, man. Dude, I've definitely had situations like that or relationships like that. And we're not going to get into that, but it's just... I mainly get it best from my siblings, where they'll be nice, and then it's like, hey, you guys broken up? Yeah. So this is what we actually thought about it. I'm like, well, thanks, bro.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's actually funny, because that's a similar situation when we talked about like perspective and mindset and stuff like that, where it's like when you're so close to something and you're in it, you don't really see it, and then you take it, and then when you're out of it, and then you look back and you're like, whoa. Because you were too close, and you're just like, I can't believe, now I understand everything. And again, perspective is everything, because you're able to step out and see that part of your life, or where you're at after that, and you're just like, oh, I can't believe like I did that, or went through that, or was treated that way, or whatever it might be. And I think that's a wonderful tool in learning what you want for the future.
What's that saying I was thinking about? You reminded me of it. It's you stand so close to the tree you can't see how big the forest is. Yeah. Something like that,
something
right?
like that.
I'm knocking on the door for sure.
I think that's it, yeah.
But yeah, perspective's huge. I think that's why like that's been my going motivation and drive for like traveling places. Yeah. Because there's nothing like seeing the world or difference. It could be anywhere. Like you said, right? I'm sure it's very different when you go, oh, I lived in Ottawa from 18 years now. Move out west, you're like, big difference. Yeah. It's still in Canada, but you're like, dude, huge difference, major perspective shift, and it adds to you, right? Like, you're able to take in more. And it's just more information, more perspective, and you learn more. You see how things are done differently. And I think what's cool is when you're in a situation like that, and then you go to places like, and I think that was the big key factor of like, not losing people, but outgrowing like people who you grew up with that didn't do any of the experiences you did, or didn't even have the drive to, and you come back from these big places and your brain is so like your eyes wide open, right? And then they don't have that, and that's where I think that's where it starts. to build something like it starts
that's where it
to
becomes
separate.
challenging between you and continuing on with those relationships, because the mindsets are just so different, and you understand so much more about life, and everything that you do, like that going out west or whatever it is you're doing, it becomes a part of who you are now, and you don't go back. Like once you go through experiences like that, you can't go back.
Never.
You never go back.
Never.
Once you go through anything like that or anything that's significant, you just keep going forward, and
it's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. It's honestly one of the greatest feelings ever. And it's not that like someone, there's still people that like people will still like, let's say the old thing, hold you back, right? Like people hold you back and like friends, but that's where that divide I think happens between
the divide definitely
and people that want to stay in this and just do this, and they're happy with that. And you know what? If they're actually happy with staying like that the rest of their life and doing that, then that's great. But now that I've experienced this, that's not okay for me, and I think that everyone should want more. And I think that it's very difficult for people to step out of that. Again, getting out of your comfort zone to go through an experience like that is the first step, and so many people out there can't do that, and it's a shame, because
it is a shame.
It's wonderful to go through those things and continuously learn and grow. More so than ever, just about yourself, because that's what it's like when you go through these things.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
I could not agree more.
Yeah,
dude, for sure.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I agree with you for sure.
Yeah,
it's not something that's that can pull you back. Like going through those things and understanding and building, and I find I connect better with better people, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to grow, right? And I think, and you said it earlier, and I want to touch on it back then, but it came full circle now. You said purpose, and I think purpose has been in the same compartment as, and train of thought for me lately, as the term fulfillment. And I think when you say purpose, like I hear purpose and I think same thing as fulfillment, right? Brother, sister.
Exactly.
So I'm like, okay, looking for the purpose or why we're doing it. And you have your purpose, and following that purpose leads you down a life to fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right? And they're paired together well. And I think the way you're going is absolutely incredible, dude. And I'm grateful that I'm able to speak with you today and have you on the show. And do you have any... We covered a lot of really good stuff. I want to know, do you have any like last minute advice for like the young people watching, listening?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say going through all those experiences has brought me to where I am today. So if you're having a difficult time thinking about what you want to do, where you're at in your life, just know that there's so much more out there that's going to occur for you. And going through those experiences and being able to do that at a young age and go through those things is so important, because you need to do that, and you need to experience more than just inside your box, because once you do that, you're able to gather so much more information about yourself, which can link you towards your future. And so I think that if I were to give advice to anyone, I would say step outside your comfort zone, do these things you're a little scared to do, because those are the meaningful things that you'll do in your life.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, Will, brother, tell everybody where they can connect with you, hear more from you, and where can they check you out? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on the news every night, CTV News Northern Ontario. You'll find me doing the weather, sunny skies, rain or snow, it don't matter. I'm always there. So if you got a nice forecast, you can find me on there. And then I do most of my work on Instagram, just Will Aiello, CTV Will Aiello on Twitter, and Will Aiello on Facebook. But most of my stuff's on Instagram, whether it be content that I do myself, fitness stuff, or weather. Amazing. And then, of course, if you ever need a forecast, you know where to go. Don't open that app. Turn on your TV. I'll let you know what the weekend looks like.
Amazing. Right on, brother. I'm super grateful you were able to come on and we were able to chat today.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, man.
Keep doing your thing, dude.
Thank
you.
All right,
right on. Thanks, guys.